The rain hammered the windshield like it had a grudge. I gripped the wheel tighter, wipers slashing back and forth, my eyes straining through the blur. There, on the roadside, a figure stumbled, arms flailing against the wind. My heart skipped. It was her, the CEO. Elusive. Always in tailored suits and clipped commands from the top floor. I'd just finished tucking my daughter in, her small hand clutching mine as she whispered goodnight. And exhaustion pulled at me like silt in a riverbed. But I couldn't drive past. Not her. I swerved to the shoulder, hazards flashing, and stepped out into the downpour. "Hey," I called, rain soaking my shirt in seconds. She turned, disoriented, her face pale under the streetlight. "Let me help you." The alarm buzzed at 5:30 every morning. I slapped it quiet and lay there for a second, staring at the cracked ceiling of our one-bedroom apartment. The city hummed outside, distant horns and the low rumble of buses. But inside, it was just me and the weight of the day ahead. I slid out of bed, feet hitting the cold floor, and padded to the kitchen. Coffee first. Black. Strong enough to cut through the fog. Then, wake Ellie. My daughter, 6 years old, with curls that tangled no matter how I brushed them, and eyes that saw too much already. "Come on, kiddo," I'd say, scooping her up. She'd mumble against my shoulder, warm and heavy, as I got her cereal and packed her lunch. Peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, a note scribbled on a napkin. School drop-off was a ritual. The walk to the corner bus stop, her hand in mine, backpack bouncing. I'd watch the doors close, wave until she was out of sight, then hurry to the subway. The firm waited. Not some powerhouse, just a mid-tier consulting place downtown. All glass walls and echoing lobbies. My role? Admin. Low level, filing reports, answering phones with a smile that never reached my eyes. It paid the rent, covered Ellie's daycare when shifts overlapped, but it drained me. Nights I'd clock in after she was asleep, sorting data until my back ached and the fluorescents buzzed like angry bees. The city swallowed people like me. Queer, single mom, I kept it tucked away, like a secret in my pocket. Past relationships flickered in my mind sometimes. A woman in college, soft hands and stolen kisses in dorm rooms. Another after Ellie was born, who left when the judgment from her family cut too deep. Now, solitude. The straight-laced world of the office didn't ask, and I didn't tell. Coworkers chattered about husbands and playdates. I'd nod, change the subject to the weather. It was safer that way. Hiding the fatigue of it all, the double shifts, the quiet nights wondering if Ellie would grow up asking why we didn't have a dad like the other kids. I'd read her stories about families that looked like us, but even those felt distant, like echoes. At work, she was a ghost I admired from afar. The CEO, Eleanor Vance. Sharp presence, always striding through the halls and heels that clicked like decisions. I'd catch glimpses. Her in meetings, voice steady, unraveling problems with a glance. From my desk, buried in emails, she was untouchable. A force. I wondered about her life beyond the boardroom. Did she go home to silence too? Or was it filled with the kind of ease I craved? The longing hit hardest in the evenings, after Ellie's bedtime routine. Bath, story, lights out. I'd collapse on the couch, feet up, and feel the emptiness settle. Genuine connection. That's what I missed. Someone to share the grit of it. The spilled milk, the late bills, the pride in Ellie's first lost tooth. Someone who saw me, not the mask. But the city didn't hand those out. You scraped for them, like grit under your nails after a long day. That rainy evening shifted everything when I left the office late. The clock had ticked past 8, files stacked high, and the storm rolled in without warning. I grabbed my coat, keys jangling, and headed out. The air felt heavy, charged. Little did I know, she swayed there, right on the edge of the road, her coat flapping like a broken wing. The rain came down in sheets, blurring everything, but I pushed through it. My shoes splashed in puddles that swallowed my ankles. I reached her just as she stumbled again, her heel catching on the gravel shoulder. "Easy," I said, my voice barely cutting the roar. I grabbed her arm, steadying her against the car door. She leaned heavy, her weight shifting into me, unexpected and warm even through the wet. Her hair clung to her face in dark strands, mascara streaking like faint rivers. The cold seeped in fast. Water soaked my shirt, plastering it to my skin, chill raising goosebumps along my arms. Her breath hit my neck, sharp, laced with whiskey and something sharper, like regret. It mixed with the metallic tang of rain on asphalt. She gripped my arm then, fingers digging in, not soft, but desperate. Nails pressing through my sleeve. I could feel the tremor in her hand, the way her body fought to stay upright. The wind whipped around us, tugging at our clothes, making the whole world feel unsteady. At first, she pushed back, mumbled words, slurred out, "No, I can walk." Her voice cracked, low and frayed, like it hadn't been used right in hours. But her legs buckled, and she sagged against me. I held her up, one arm around her waist, the other fumbling for the passenger door. It swung open with a creak, and I guided her in. She slid into the seat, protest fading to a quiet slump. Her head lolled against the headrest, eyes half closed. Reliance settled over her like the rain outside. I shut the door, circled to my side, and slid behind the wheel. The engine turned over rough, wipers thumping. The drive stretched tense. Streetlights smeared past. Halos in the downpour. The road slick and unforgiving. Silence filled the car, thick as the humidity pressing the windows. I kept my eyes forward, hands tight on the wheel, but glanced her way. She stared out, unseeing, her chest rising uneven. Then a fragment broke through. My keys... lost them. Her words hung, small against the storm. Vulnerability cracked her voice, raw edges showing. I nodded, said nothing. My mind racing. What if someone saw? The CEO in my beat-up sedan, soaked and unsteady. Rumors at work could twist this. Pity, or worse, questions about boundaries. Ellie waited at home, her bedtime story unfinished in my head. Risks piled up, like the water on the windshield. But turning back felt impossible now. Her hand twitched on the seat, inches from mine. I focused on the road, heart thudding steady. We pulled into my building's lot after what felt like hours. The rain eased a touch, but still drummed the roof as I helped her out. She leaned again, heavier now. Steps uneven on the cracked pavement. Up the stairs, 2 flights, her breath coming in short gasps against my shoulder. The door clicked open, and the apartment's warmth hit us. Dim light from the hall lamp spilled out. Ellie was with the sitter downstairs, thank God. I steered her to the guest room, the one I used for overflow laundry. It smelled faintly of clean sheets and dust. She sank onto the bed, shoes dangling. I knelt, unlaced them, pulled them off. Her feet were cold, toes pale. The towel came next, from the bathroom shelf. Rough cotton. I pressed it to her hair first, soaking up the drips. She sat still, letting me. Then her face. Gentle wipes over the streaks. Water beaded on her skin, mixing with silt from the road, grit clinging to her collar. I worked down her arms, the fabric of her blouse clinging translucent. Her skin warmed under the towel, pulse faint at her wrist. She watched me, eyes clear now, a flicker of something. Gratitude? Maybe confusion? The alcohol's edge softened her features, made her look less like the boardroom force, more human. I draped a dry shirt over her shoulders. One of mine, too big. Rest, I said, voice low. She nodded, sinking back, the bed creaking. I lingered a second, the air between us heavy with rain's echo, then stepped out, closing the door soft. Morning light brought clarity, and complications, to our doorstep. Sunlight sliced through the blinds. I stirred the coffee pot, the rich scent cutting the stale air. It was early. Too early for the city to wake fully, but my body moved on autopilot. Ellie still slept. Her door cracked just enough to hear her breaths, last night replayed in fragments. The rain, her weight against me, the towel's rough drag over her skin. I poured 2 mugs, steam curling up like questions. Footsteps shuffled from the guest room. She emerged, hair tousled, my shirt hanging loose on her frame. Hungover, gaze met mine across the kitchen table. Bleary and sharp at once, eyes like polished stone, softened by the light. We sat, mugs between us, the table scarred from years of hurried meals. She wrapped her hands around hers, knuckles white. Thanks, she said finally, voice gravelly. Sparse words hung there. For the ride, the bed, not pushing further. I nodded, sipped my coffee black. The night lingered unspoken. The stumble, the grip, her breath on my neck. Gratitude laced her tone, but unease threaded through, like silt settling uneven. She shifted, chair creaking. What time is it? Her walls flickered up. Subtle, but there. I glanced at the clock. 7. Office in an hour. She winced, rubbed her temple. The exchange stayed surface. Words clipped as the steam faded. I insisted on driving her back. No arguments. She protested once, soft. I can call a car. But relented when I grabbed my keys. The tension built in the hallway. Her coat draped over her arm, damp still from the night. I sensed the rebuild, guarded layers snapping into place, like armor over the vulnerability she'd shown. We stepped out, the morning air crisp, carrying faint exhaust from the street below. Her steps steadied, but she walked close, shoulder brushing mine once by accident. Or not. The elevator hummed down, silence thick. I wondered if she'd remember it all clearly, or if the alcohol blurred the edges. My pulse quickened at the thought. The drive to her place was quiet. Not the storm's roar, but a different weight. Traffic crawled, horns faint in the distance. She stared out the window, city blocks sliding past. towers gleaming, sidewalks filling with suits. I kept my eyes on the road, but felt her presence. The faint scent of my shampoo on her hair mixing with her perfume. Residual rain pooled in gutters, reflecting the sky. We pulled up to her building, sleek and towering, doorman nodding as she got out. "Thanks again," she said, door half open. Her gaze held mine a second longer. Then she was gone, heels clicking on marble. I sat there, engine idling, watching her disappear. The walls were back. Solid. Workday shift hit like always. I clocked in, desk waiting with its stack of memos and blinking voicemails. The office buzzed. Phones ringing, keyboards clacking, coffee runs in the break room. I sorted files, answered queries, the routine a shield. But my mind wandered to her office upstairs, the glass walls where decisions shaped us all. Lunch came. A quick sandwich at my desk, crumbs on the keyboard. Then the boardroom glimpse. Through the hallway window, I saw her. Striding in, suit pressed, hair pulled back tight. Surrounded by execs, her voice carrying faint through the door. Commands, steady. Our eyes met briefly amid the bustle. Hers widened a fraction, then away. Routine swallowed it. Papers shuffling, chairs scraping. But that look lingered. A spark in the fluorescent hum. Internal conflict churned. Would she acknowledge it? A nod in the hall, or worse, a formal email about boundaries? My heart thudded steady through the afternoon. Each meeting a potential minefield. What if rumors spread? The CEO in my car, questions about favoritism or impropriety. I was just admin. Invisible mostly. This could shift that. For better or ruin. Ellie's face flashed, her trusting eyes at drop-off. I couldn't afford fallout. Not with bills stacking and daycare fees looming. Yet part of me hoped for a sign. Something to bridge the night, and now. The clock ticked slow. Every glance at the elevator a pull. By 5, nothing. Just the weight of unspoken. Days blurred into subtle observations that pulled me deeper. Days blurred, but the pull sharpened. Subtle at first, like silt shifting underfoot. In meetings, I'd file into the conference room, notepad in hand, taking minutes from the back row. The air hummed with projections and timelines, voices overlapping in that corporate drone. She'd stand at the head, pointer in grip, dissecting charts with her usual command. But now, glances caught me off guard. Her eyes would flick my way during pauses, lingering a beat on my face before sliding back to the screen. Not overt, just enough to warm the chill of the fluorescent lights. A new softness edged her posture. Shoulders less rigid, a faint curve to her mouth when our looks crossed. I'd shift in my seat, pen scratching faster, heart thudding quiet against my ribs. Was it gratitude? Or something thicker, unspoken? The room felt smaller those moments, the air between us humming low. Then the gestures started, small, unexplained. One morning, I arrived to my desk, the stack of reports waiting as always. But there, a paper cup, steam rising faint. Black coffee, just how I took it. No note, no one claiming it. I sipped, the bitterness grounding me, warmth spreading through the routine's grind. It happened again midweek, after a late filing rush. Cup waiting, still hot, like someone had timed it. My fingers brushed the edge, tracing the lid. Mind drifting to her office upstairs. Did she notice my habits that closely? The chill of endless emails eased a touch, replaced by a quiet bloom in my chest. I didn't ask around. Kept it close, like a secret shared only with the empty break room. It warmed the days, those tiny anchors amid the bustle. Home pulled me back each evening. Ellie at the table, crayons scattered, drawing swirls of blue and green. I'd stir pasta, the steam rising thick, and she'd chatter about school, finger paints, a new friend named Mia. Over dinner, fragments slipped out, unbidden. Work was busy today, I'd say, twirling noodles on my fork. She'd tilt her head, sauce on her chin. With the boss lady, I'd pause, fork midway. How much to share? Just helped her out once. She's nicer than she seems. Ellie nodded, serious, then launched into her own story, a playground chase. But the words stirred feelings I hadn't named. Lying awake later, Ellie's door cracked. I'd replay the glances, the coffee's heat. Attraction flickered, soft but insistent, like rain tapping the window. I pushed it down, focused on the dishes clink, the laundry pile. Single mom life didn't leave room for complications. Yet there it was, pulling quiet. Curiosity, built in stolen moments. I pass her office on supply runs, door ajar, her voice carrying down the hall. Overheard calls, not eavesdropping, just fragments snagged like burrs. A sharp tone with a vendor, then softer, frayed at the edges. "Handle it yourself," she'd snap. But later, to someone else, I can't do this alone. Cracks in the polish. Her facade, always so seamless in boardrooms, showed faint lines now. I glimpsed her through the glass, head in hands during lunch lulls, the city skyline framing her silhouette. What weighed on her? The empire she ran, or something deeper, hidden like my own? It drew me, that glimpse of raw. I'd linger a second too long, then move on, cart rattling. Empathy settled quiet between us. I'd recall my struggles, the side glances at parent-teacher nights, the ache of holidays alone, hiding who I was. The queer edges tucked away in a world that straightened them out. Now, air thickened whenever paths crossed in the hall. A nod, her eyes holding mine, pull unspoken but heavy. Like shared silt under the surface, binding without words. I'd feel it in my gut, a tug toward her guarded warmth. Professional lines blurred faint, but I held steady. For Ellie. For the rent. Still, the empathy bridged us, silent and deep. One late evening, the boundaries began to blur further. One late evening, the office thinned out. Desks emptied, screens darkened, the hum of printers fading to echoes in the hall. I lingered at my station, sorting last-minute invoices, the fluorescent buzz pressing my temples. Her email pinged then. Simple, direct. Need those quarterly files. Can you drop them by? Evance. My pulse quickened, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I gathered the folders, thick with reports, and headed up. The elevator ride stretched, mirrors reflecting my tired face, shadows under my eyes from Ellie's cough that week. Her door stood ajar when I arrived. Light spilling warm. I knocked soft, pushed in. She looked up from her desk, sleeves rolled, hair loose at the collar. The room smelled of polished wood and faint ink. City lights twinkling beyond the glass. Here, I said, setting the stack down. She nodded, but didn't dismiss me. Instead, her chair creaked as she leaned back. Stay a minute. It's quiet now. The conversation unspooled slow. Started with the files. Numbers that didn't add up, a vendor glitch she'd spotted. But her tone shifted, casual, turning personal. You handle a lot here, she said, eyes on the papers. I shrugged, standing by the window, arms crossed. It's the job. She set the folder aside, gaze lifting to mine. Silence settled, thick as the night outside. Then, vulnerability slipped out. Single parenting came up first. Mine, raw from a long day. Ellie's been up with fevers. Daycare won't take her tomorrow. I said it matter of fact, but the weight hung. She nodded, fingers tracing the desk edge. I get it. My sister's kids? The pull never stops. Her voice softened, edges frayed. No details, but enough. A glimpse of her own divides, boardroom against family, calls ignored. We touched on the woes then, the endless juggle. Missed recitals, guilt like grit in your throat. Her eyes held mine a beat too long, steady and searching, pulling something loose in me. The air warmed, unspoken threads weaving. I shifted, cleared my throat. But she didn't look away. That scent hit me then. Rain, lingering faint in her presence, mixed with her cologne. Clean, earthy, like petrichor on skin. It evoked the stormy night, the downpour's chill, her grip tightening, desperate. I froze a second, memory flooding. Water beating on her lashes, breath sharp against my neck. The office felt smaller, the glass walls closing in with the city's hum below. Her blouse shifted as she leaned forward, fabric whispering. And the aroma strengthened. Not overpowering, just there, grounding. Pulling me back to that roadside blur. My skin prickled, warmth rising unbidden. I gripped the windowsill, cool metal under my palms, anchoring. She noticed, tilted her head. You okay? Fine, I said, voice steady. But inside, the echo stirred. Rain's rhythm matching my pulse. Guardedness rose sharp. I pushed the attraction down, deep, like burying embers under silt. This was work. Lines clear, professional. Her position towered, decisions rippling down to my paycheck, Ellie's lunches. One wrong step, and it crumbled. Yet the warmth crept anyway, rising slow amid the conversation's flow. We talked more, deadlines blurring into life's small fractures. Her laugh came once, low and unexpected, at my story of Ellie's crayon rebellion on the walls. It thawed something, the room's edges softening. But I held back, words measured, eyes on the folders, not her mouth's curve. Focus on the task, the files. Not the way her fingers drummed, echoing my own restless nights. Still, the pull tugged, quiet and insistent. Warmth seeping through the cracks. Evening routine waited, but thoughts intruded. Home that night, keys jangling in the lock. Ellie rushed me at the door. Mommy! Her arms wrapped tight, curls tickling my chin. We moved to dinner. Macaroni twisting on forks, her giggles at the cheese strings. Bath followed, bubbles foaming high, her splashing waves that soaked my shirt. I read her story, voice low over the pages, about a fox finding her way. But her steady gaze interrupted, replaying in my head. Those beats too long, holding secrets. I paused mid-sentence, book dipping. Ellie looked up. Keep going. I nodded, resumed, but the words blurred. Tucking her in, her small hand in mine, I lingered. The gaze haunted, warm and probing, stirring wants I'd locked away. Single life meant safety. No risks, no judgment slicing queer edges. Yet there it was, interrupting the quiet. Her presence like rain's after scent on my skin. I kissed Ellie's forehead, lights out, and sat in the dim living room. The clock ticked, city sounds muffled. Attraction simmered, guarded but alive. Tension mounted when work demands forced us closer. Tension mounted, pulling us into the project's grip. Urgent task landed midweek. A client merger. Deadlines biting like frost. Emails flew, my inbox flooding with her directives. Paired us, she said in a quick hall pass. You handle the data, I'll shape the pitch. No choice in it. I nodded, files under arm, the weight settling heavy. Hours stretched from there. Office emptying around us as we hunkered in the conference room. Whiteboards filled with charts, markers squeaking, coffee cups piling like unanswered questions. Problem solving turned intimate. Voices low over spreadsheets, her pen tapping rhythms against the table. I'd lean in, pointing at discrepancies, the screen's glow casting shadows on her face. She'd counter, sharp but patient, unraveling knots together. The room shrank, city lights blurring outside, time slipping unnoticed. Her ideas sparked mine. A back and forth that felt less like work, more like shared breath. Proximity built slow, unavoidable. We spread documents across the table, pages fanning wide. Contracts thick as river silt, numbers blurring under strain. Hands brushed once, reaching for the same highlighter. Her fingers warm, calloused faint from pens or stress, lingering a second before pulling back. I froze, pulse thudding in my wrist. Air thickened then, heavy with energy unspoken, like humidity before a storm. Another time, passing a folder, our knuckles grazed, skin electric against paper's edge. She didn't flinch, just held my gaze a beat, eyes dark and steady. The space between us hummed, charged. Every shift of chair or rustle of sleeves amplifying it. I'd catch her scent again. Rain's echo mixed with ink, grounding me, even as it stirred. We worked on words focused on clauses and forecasts, but the undercurrent pulled, silent and insistent. My skin prickled, aware of her knee inches from mine under the table, the accidental press of elbows. It built tension, layer by layer, the room's air dense with what we didn't name. Revelations came in the quiet lulls. When the clock hit 10, screens paused, exhaustion settling like dust. I'd admit it first. A past heartbreak, voice low over cooling coffee. The woman who'd promised forever, then faded when Ellie's cries filled our nights. Left me holding the pieces, I said, stirring sugar absently. She listened, head tilted, no interruptions. Her response drew me deeper, measured words cracking her shell. Mine was similar. Boardrooms don't leave room for mess. She spoke of a partner, lost to ambition's grind, nights alone in that upscale silence. Quiet moments stretched, confessions slipping like silt through fingers. Her voice softened, edges raw, pulling me in with its honesty. I'd share more, the sting of queer judgments at family gatherings, hiding rings and stories. She nodded, eyes holding mine, a mirror to my own guarded aches. No pity, just recognition. The air between us warming with shared scars. It bonded us, those admissions, weaving threads through the project's chaos. Her laugh came rare, dry at my tale of Ellie's midnight demands, lightening the weight. I leaned closer without thinking, drawn by the vulnerability she rarely showed. Strains pressed from outside, mirroring each other. Ellie's school event loomed, a science fair, her volcano model bubbling foam in my mind. But overtime swallowed evenings, calls dragging past pickup time. I'd balance it frantic, phone buzzing with daycare apologies, rushing home to her disappointed face. Mommy late again? I'd hug her tight, explain with half-truths, the guilt thudding like footsteps on stairs. Exhaustion mirrored hers. I saw it in her shadowed eyes during our sessions, the way her shoulders sagged when alone. She'd mentioned skip family dinners, her sister's voice fading on lines. We pushed through, fueled by takeout wrappers and late-night resolve. My back ached from the chair, eyes burning, but her presence steadied it. The juggle wore us, single lives clashing against demands, yet it synced us somehow. I'd catch her watching me stretch, concern flickering, and feel seen in the fatigue. It deepened the pull, our wares aligning like parallel rivers carving the same path. Acknowledgement grew slow, cautious. I sensed it in the lingers, the way her hand paused near mine, or eyes traced my face during silences. Mutual, that tug. Warm and undeniable. Yet words stayed measured, edges honed. No declarations, just nods over breakthroughs, smiles faint but real. I'd test it once, asking about her weekend plans. Voice light. Quiet, she said, gaze steady. Like mine. The air hummed fuller then. Pull acknowledged, in the unsaid. We wrapped the project late, files sealed. But the energy lingered, heavy as unspoken want. I packed up, her standing close, the brush of her arm final. Thanks for this, she murmured. Our eyes met, the caution cracking just a hair. Crisis hit when personal lives collided unexpectedly. The phone rang at 11, shattering the quiet of my apartment. Ellie had finally drifted off after a story, her chest rising even under the blanket. I was in the kitchen, scrubbing the last of the dinner plates, water still warm on my hands. The screen lit up. Her name. E. Vance. My stomach twisted. I dried my fingers quick, answered. Everything okay? Her voice cracked through the line, raw and frayed. Not the steady command I knew. No, my sister... Accident. Hospital. I can't... Words broke, a sob catching. Need laced every syllable, pulling at me like a current. Where are you? She gave the address. Upscale side of town. The kind with gated drives and silent streets. I grabbed my keys, coat half on, whispered goodbye to the dark hall. Ellie stirred, but settled. The door clicked shut behind me, night air biting as I headed down. The drive blurred, city lights streaking like wet veins on the windshield. Rain from days ago lingered in puddles, reflecting neon. Her building loomed when I arrived. Sleek towers, marble steps gleaming under lanterns. The doorman waved me up. No questions. Her name enough. Elevator hummed smooth, floors ticking past. My heart thudding louder with each. The door opened to her penthouse, ajar, light spilling faint. I knocked, soft, pushed in. Empty luxury stretched out, high ceilings, white walls, furniture sharp and sparse like a showroom. No warmth, just echoes. She sat on the couch, knees drawn, phone clutched in white-knuckled grip. Face pale, eyes red-rimmed, unraveling in the dim glow of a single lamp. The air smelled of polished floors and faint perfume, undercut by her tension. Thick as fog. I crossed the room, sank beside her. What happened? She shook her head, words tumbling. Car crash. Kid's okay, but she's... surgery. Her voice splintered, body folding in. I held space. Arm around her shoulders, steady as she leaned. No words at first, just the weight of her against me, tremors running through. Tears came then, hot and silent, soaking my sleeve. They mixed with confessions, spilling out in fragments. Isolation first. The top floor's curse. Decisions made alone, nights staring at city grids. No one to call when it breaks, she whispered, voice muffled. Doubt followed, sharp and deep. Am I enough? For the firm, for family, for anyone? The boardroom armor cracked wide. Vulnerability raw as fresh silt. I listened, hand rubbing slow circles on her back, the fabric of her shirt soft under my palm. Her breath hitched, body shaking, the luxury around us feeling colder, emptier. I pulled her closer, her head on my shoulder, tears tracing warm paths down my collar. The room closed in, just us in the hush, her confessions weaving through the air like smoke. I felt it all, the ache mirroring my own hidden fractures, the pull tightening. Bond deepened in that shared unravel. I shared back, voice low against her hair. My scars from clear judgments, family whispers at gatherings, eyes narrowing over Ellie's curls, called me unnatural once, after she was born. Said I'd ruin her. The words hung, old pain surfacing like gravel under skin. She lifted her head, eyes meeting mine, red but clear. Her hand found mine, fingers clasping tight. Solidarity warm and firm. Not pity, but understanding. Palms pressing together, pulses sinking faint. We sat like that, hands linked, the dim light casting long shadows across the rug. Her thumb traced my knuckle, slow, grounding us both. Confessions flowed easier than her own hidden edges, the women she'd loved in shadows, boardrooms demanding straight lines. Feels like walking on silt, always shifting. I nodded, squeezed her hand. The bond solidified, threads pulling us from separate currents into one. Her face softened, tears drying, the unraveling easing into quiet strength. Night's intensity built from there. Comfort shifted, tender now. boundaries softening like mist in the lamp's glow. She turned toward me, face inches away, breath mingling warm. My free hand rose, brushed a stray hair from her cheek, skin soft and damp. She leaned in, eyes searching, the air heavy with unspoken want. Our foreheads touched, breaths sinking, the room's hush amplifying every shift. Her lips brushed mine, tentative, light, tasting of salt and need. I responded, hand cupping her neck, the kiss deepening, slow, warmth spreading like rain-soaking earth. Hands explored gentle, hers on my waist, mine tracing her arm, fabric whispering under fingers. Intensity hummed, not rushed, but deep, boundaries blurring in the dim. We pulled back eventual, foreheads still pressed, breaths ragged. The luxury felt alive now, filled with us, the empty spaces warming. She smiled, faint, hand still in mine, the night's edge softening to something real. Dawn brought the unexpected turn that redefined everything. Dawn crept in, soft light filtering through the penthouse blinds like hesitant fingers. I stirred first, her body still curled against mine on the couch, breaths even in sleep. The night clung, her scent on my skin, faint salt from tears dried now. We'd shifted some time, blankets pulled from a closet, the luxury warming under our weight. Her face relaxed, lines smoothed, the unraveling tucked away for morning. I eased up, careful not to wake her, and padded to the kitchen. Coffee brewed slow, the pot's gurgle breaking the hush. She emerged minutes later, robe loose, hair tousled, eyes clearer but shadowed. We sat at the island, mugs steaming, the city waking below in distant hums. "Thanks for last night," she said, voice low, fingers tracing the rim. I nodded, warmth lingering from the kiss. Boundaries shifted, but not shattered. Then she leaned forward, gaze steady. "I've been thinking about that rain, you stopping. It wasn't just a ride." Her words hung, tying back to the downpour. My hand on her arm that first unsteady night. Surprise offer came next. Direct as her boardroom style, but softer. "I want to promote you. Lead admin. More. And a network. Mentors. Resources. For you, for Ellie." She tied it to the rescue, eyes holding mine. "You saved me that night. Let me return it." My breath caught, the proposal landing heavy. Lifelines shifting under my feet like silt stirred. Not pity, but recognition. Seeing the grind I hid, offering a hand up. Aid unfolded, life-altering. Quiet but steady. First, the promotion papers hit my desk days later, sealed with her signature. Salary bump enough for better daycare, no more scraping for Ellie's art classes. She arranged it subtle. Calls to providers, a spot opening like magic at a center near work. Childcare eased, mornings less frantic, Ellie's backpack ready without my rushed hands. Then the backing, quiet against biases that nipped at edges. A coworker's offhand comment in the break room about family priorities, slowing climbs. She overheard, stepped in, calm, redirecting with a glance that silenced. No fanfare, just her presence shielding. Words to HR about inclusive paths. Workplace straightened a touch. My role lifting from shadows, voice heard in meetings now. I felt it in small ways. Emails answered faster, nods in halls turning respectful. The aid rippled, washing grit from routines. Her support a steady current beneath. Ellie noticed too. Her drawings, including a boss friend with tall hair. It altered trajectories, mine veering from survival to breath. Possibilities blooming. Quiet. Gratitude swelled reflective, processing the shift. From savior, that rainy roadside, to equal, now. Heart thudding with new weight. I'd catch myself in the mirror. Lines softer, eyes brighter from rest unbroken. She wasn't the untouchable CEO anymore, but Eleanor, vulnerable in lamplight, hand in mine. The change hit in quiet moments, like walking home after drop-off, sun warm on my face. No longer distant admiration, but shared ground. Her pull drawing me level. Heart swelled with possibility. Warmth spreading like dawn's light. Fears of imbalance fading. I was seen not as the admin mom, but as whole. Queer, tired, deserving. It mirrored my own hidden wants, validation in her offers. The payback weaving us closer. Nights, Ellie asleep, I'd sit with tea, replaying it all. The promotions ink, her steady backing. Shift from one-sided rescue to mutual lift. Gratitude deep as riverbed silt. Grounding. Romance ignited slow. tentative admissions slipping in. One evening, after a long day, her office door ajar again. I dropped files, lingered, the air thick with unsaid from the night before. She stood, closed the distance, hand brushing mine. This. Us. It's more than thanks, she said, voice frayed at edges. I nodded, pulse quickening, the confession pulling like gravity. Feelings admitted light. No rush, just truth hanging between. Then the kiss. Light as morning mist, her lips soft, tasting of coffee and certainty. We leaned in, hands framing faces, the office fading to just breath mingling. It deepened, gentle. Her fingers in my hair, mine at her waist. Warmth building, unhurried. Pull of desire, hidden so long, surfaced tender. Boundaries melting further. We pulled back, foreheads touching, smiles faint in the dim. Slow burn that ignite, promising more without demand. Ripples broadened, her entering Ellie's world, tentative. First, meet casual. A park picnic. Blankets spread under oaks. Ellie's laughter ringing. Eleanor arrived with sandwiches. Hesitant in jeans. No suit armor. Ellie eyed her curious, then warmed with a crayon shared. They talked colors. Her voice softening to match the child's pace. I watched. Heart swelling. Threads building. Family-like. Fragile, but real. Evenings blended, her joining dinners, stories exchanged over plates, Ellie's questions drawing her in. Tentative steps. Hands brushing in the kitchen. Ellie's head on her lap during movies. Worlds merged slow. Queer authenticity threading through. No hiding now. It felt right. The ripples washing old isolations clean. In the quiet aftermath, connection solidified. Connection solidified in the quiet aftermath. Days wove into shared routines, homes blending without fanfare. Morning started with her coffee pot gurgling beside mine, steam mingling in the kitchen's dim light. I pack Ellie's lunch, her small hands helping now, while Eleanor's voice drifted from the hall. Soft instructions on her phone, edges worn from early calls. We'd drive together, sometimes. Ellie in the back, chattering about dreams, her backpack thudding against the seat. Drop-off turned joint, Eleanor's hand brushing mine as we waved, the bus doors hissing shut. At work, lines blurred further. Lunch breaks in her office, sandwiches unwrapped on the desk, city views framing our talks. No more admin shadows. I led now, voice steady in meetings, her nod across the table grounding. Evenings pulled us home, dinner stretching longer. Pasta twirled on forks. Ellie's laughter easing old guards, her questions drawing Eleanor in like silt settling warm. Boss lady, why's your hair so shiny? Eleanor smiled, touched the strands, answered simple. The room filled, empty corners softening under the pull. Nights, Ellie tucked in, we'd sit close on the couch, hands linked loose, the TV's glow flickering low. Her thumb traced my palm, slow circles, warmth seeping through the quiet. It felt steady, this integration. No rush, just threads weaving daily. Emotional payoff came in glances. Validation deep as riverbed hold. We embraced queer authenticity together. No hiding the edges anymore. One evening, after Ellie's bath, bubbles still clinging to her curls, Eleanor joined the story time. I read of two women building a home, voices low over the pages. Ellie leaned against her, head on knee, and Eleanor froze a second, then relaxed, hand stroking the curls gentle. Later, alone, she turned to me, eyes steady. This, us, her, it's real. I nodded, heart thudding soft against my ribs. No more solitude's grit. Her presence washed it clean. Every glance affirming the hidden parts we'd guarded. Work biases faded under her quiet backing, my role lifting without whispers. At home, Ellie's drawings showed 3 figures now, hands linked under suns. Validation bloomed in those small truths. The way she'd hold my gaze during family calls. No shame in the queer lines we drew. It healed fractures, old judgments from kin, dissolving in the warmth we built. Her laugh came freer, dry at my fumbling with Ellie's braids, pulling me closer. I felt seen, whole. The longing from shadowed days met in her touch. Together, we owned the authenticity. No masks in the morning light. Final stakes resolved slow, doubts overcome in the bond's slow build. Lingering fears surfaced once. A night after a tough board meeting, her pacing the living room, shadows long. What if this crumbles? My world, yours, Ellie's. I pulled her close, arms around her waist, her breath warm on my neck. We've walked silt before, together now. She nodded, body easing into mine. The doubt thudding quiet like heartbeats sinking. No dramatic vows, just commitment in the unsaid. Her staying through Ellie's fever nights, me in her office storms. Work stabilized, promotion holding firm, biases redirected by her steady hand. Home felt anchored, Ellie's trust blooming in Eleanor's bedtime whispers. We committed deep. The bond forged from Rain's chaos to this quiet hold. Doubts faded, washed in shared mornings, the pull turning solid as packed earth. No more isolation's weight. We carried it divided, lighter. Sensory closure wrapped us one afternoon. Light rain pattering the window. We walked the block, Ellie's hand in mine, Eleanor's on the other side. Puddles gleamed, air thick with petrichor, grit of past days sloughing off our shoes. Hands linked across the gap, fingers interlacing firm. Rain misted our faces, cool drops tracing skin, washing old isolations clean. Ellie splashed ahead, laughter cutting the hush. The world narrowed to that hold. Warm palms, steady steps, the storm's echo fading. It felt right. Paths forged quiet, futures opening soft. Her hand squeezed mine under clearing skies. World feeling steady at last. If this pulled at your own hidden stories, subscribe for more real connections like these.